Have you ever had this feeling where you just smashed the job, like you knew you did well, but still you walked away doubting yourself? That's because skill alone never locks in the confidence. You're in a loop. That's what decides. Hi, I am Nene, and I am a speaker trainer coach, and I help interpreters, translators, language professionals, and shy but capable individuals navigate those internal stuff so they can step into their role with confidence. And in today's video, we are going to be talking about why the loop in your brain runs, why you can, and why it can make or break your confidence, no matter how good you actually were in that process. Because what's happening here is the success loop. I call it the success encoding loop. And this is where what you're thinking starts making you feel some ways. And when that feeling starts happening, you start doing certain things, which then produces the result you have what you want. So a quick way to remember is as I think, so I feel, as I feel, so I do, and as I do, so I have. And as we've discussed in previous videos, how our thoughts are just primed with those filters with the RAS, reticular activating system, which just it just goes for what you notice. Like it filters in, and then this is what we're like, this is what we want. So when our thoughts are on certain things and we are in that prime filter moment, we start feeling it. The feeling then fuels our state. How we feel. Imagine if you go into a booking and you're feeling like you're not good enough. How's your posture gonna? You're gonna start feeling like a lack of confidence, you're shrinking, you know, if you're like, or if you feel like, no, I've got this, you feel that excitement, empowerment, like you feel like that going for you. And then what's going on here? Once that has happened, when you start feeling those feelings, the doing comes in to prove the identity in those micro actions that you're showing. Is it the posture, knowing you've got this, you're there? Or is it like the lack of belief that I might mess up and like no eye contact, like the way you know, all those things you start doing in that sense. And then having is what anchors in the win. Like how you then show up at the end, like what comes in. It's like, are you celebrating or are you self-criticizing yourself? That's the loop that's going on. So if the job went well and that imposter syndrome kicks in, regardless of what's going on, that's what's going to show up. You know, if the tutor says you did well, but inside you feel like, no, I don't think I did that good. Again, your loop is that's what's showing up for you in that loop. If that one wobble will then undo that week's progress that you've made. Remember the loop. Are you thinking, you're feeling, you're doing, you're having? It all ties in. Because when like I remember when I just would not I'll go into a job and I have this feeling like oh, I'm not sure. Last time I was here, you know, I didn't do this, or if I see that person or this, I'm thinking that. How am I gonna start feeling? Are we feeling miserable? Are we feeling like unworthy? Are we feeling like shame and all those things? And then what would I start doing? I start shifting or like start being nervous, maybe like what are those things that are happening? And then I mess up. The results, you know, what I have is like that's what goes on. And then I start criticizing myself with what goes on. The same is true for what makes the confidence. When we are thinking, you know what, I've got this. You know, like whatever happens, I'm on this, I'm ready, I'm prepared, I've got my tools in case anything happens. Let's go. You start feeling empowered, you start having your like the anchoredness of like, yeah, posture's right, you start doing the things and asking for clarity or like taking your time to calculate what you're gonna say and then giving. All those things add up to what to how you show up. Because it's not because you're not capable, it's because your loop is still playing on that doubt. So regardless of what's happening, if it's a doubt of like the loop of like I've got this, or a lot of like, oh, I haven't got this, it's playing. As long as we know now the mechanism of what's going on is from the thinking to the feeling to the doing and the having, knowing that, then we can set ourselves for success and set ourselves up for failure. We can then do that. Because if like you're playing an instrument, like say, let's just pick up a guitar and those five strings are tuned to just your skill set. And if one of them is off, maybe your self-belief of self is off, then the whole song's not gonna play. So if that loop of thinking of like, what am I doing is not tuned in, then you're not going to show up in your best light or in whatever it is. So, like, let's see how we can use this practically when we're going out there in the field to do our stuff. Before you go and do the job, like, prime yourself with the phrase you're going to say, I belong here. Think of it, I belong here. I've been trained for this. I know my stuff. Like, have that in there, ingrained and planted in. Excuse me, about to go. And then just like doing like while you're doing the job or you're having those like micro reset, shoulders back, breathe, take those pauses in between, quiet phrases that would help. Got this. Okay, next. I'll recollect myself. Whatever that is, just keep the flow going. Then afterwards, celebrate, even if it's the one win, the smallest of the small. I handled that tricky phrase. I managed it. The client rebooked me. I stayed calm. Celebrate those things because what has happened is anchoring those, like your brain is now being encoded for those success, not for wobble. And then the next time you're there, you're good to go. You're like, let's go. You've got this. Yeah. So here is our challenge, and we're going to like just go through for I was gonna say next week, but actually I'll see you tomorrow. But let's just a challenge that you can have if this is your thing that you want to like take on is before the next booking and what's the loop that is running for you right now. So now I want you to then prime yourself with the one thought before and the one win after. Like what is that thing I'm going to take on going in and what am I going to celebrate after the booking, right? And that's what we're doing before we go in, that one reset, what we're doing during and how we're celebrating after. And then come over back here and then drop in the win, which part of the loop are you going to start with? Like, what's that thing you're building? Let's start building our confidence with this muscle exercise thing going. That yes, we're building this loop of success. We're getting the hang of it. We're building the reps to make it so easy for us to just keep going and just align and then really anchor that in. So remember, this awareness and now building the reps, building in the work that's required builds on that identity of this stronger, confident interpreter, translator you are. See you next time. Bye for now.